Hello guys, welcome back. In today's video we're gonna continue working on our game. So in the previous video we worked in the socket connection. Today we are gonna work on the logic of our game, right? So to do so we need to open this file and we need to write a few things here, right? So the first one will be a status, right? We need a few statuses for our game, like finding an opponent, your turn, opponent's turn, draw or win or lose, right? So to do so we need to use type, and we're gonna name it a status, right? In here we're gonna write a few statuses, like for example finding opponent, your turn, opponent's turn, win, lose, draw, right? So we need all those statuses there. So the second thing that we need to do is to define a function for our custom hook, right? So that's the other thing that we need to define, and we need to export this. And I'm gonna use arrow function, and yes, I'm gonna name it use Tic Tac Toe game, and then here this function or this custom hook will take one parameter, right? So I'm gonna call it socket, and the type will be socket as well, right? And that will come from our socket client, right? And then in here we're going to define a few states, right? And the first one I'm going to call it room ID, right? I'm going to call it room ID instead room ID. And we need to import a state from React so we don't have that error over there. And then here basically the room can be a string or null, right? So and then we're going to define another state for our board, right? And our board here, let me our board will be of type of cell value, right? We defined this type already. Let me fix the import so we don't see the ugly error. And then it's gonna be of type cells value, as I mentioned. It will be an array, and the default values will be an array, and we're gonna fill the array with 9 empty values, right? As a default values, right? So we have that, and then we need to define another one which will be for our current turn, right? Yes, and it will be of type symbol, right? Instead of cell it will be symbol over here, and the symbol will be let me import this from type. Yes, and now the type will be an X or an O, right? In this case I'm gonna utilize the X as a default value. And then we need to define another one which will be to determine the first player's symbol, right? I'm gonna name it my symbol, and then that one will be an X again or an O, but initially remember it will be null, right? Because when there is only one player just waiting for the second one, so it will be a null value, right? So let's define that, and we're gonna use define another one which basically it will be a reference, right? And why this is so, my socket event handler always have the latest value without registering listeners. That's why we need the reference here, or a ref. So how I can now name this, I'm gonna name my symbol ref. Okay, yes, that's perfect. And yes, it can be a symbol or null value. And let me remove this from, I don't need that. And then we need to define two more states which basically will be for UI mainly. So let me define those, and I'm gonna call it status. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, the default value will be finding an opponent. Let's add these three, and also here, right? So this one will be our default status, right? So and then we did another one, and this one is just for our button, right? To show when the game is over, we show to the user if they want to play again, right? Basically. So I'm gonna call this show, how I can name this, rematch maybe. And I think that's a good name. And this one is basically a boolean, right? If it is true, we show the button. If it's false, we don't show anything, right? And then we need to write a helper basically, and this helper is to determine the status, right? If we will be finding opponent, or the first user turn, or the opponent's turn basically. So let's try this, and we're gonna name it set I think set turned status is a good name, and we're gonna use callback, right? Use um, callback basically, and then here it will take two parameters. The first one will be turn, and this will be of type symbol, right? And the second one, let me finish writing this, and the second one will be mine, right? And it will be of type of symbol or null, right? Basically, yes, we need that. And in here we're not write an if statement, but before doing so we need to yeah, no, we don't need to pass anything in the dependency array. We need to write this if statement, which basically, if it is not my turn, meaning, you know, like I am connected but no one else is, so we are going to set a status to um, finding an opponent, right? Otherwise, we need to set that status to let's say the turn it's equal to mine, it will be my turn. Otherwise, it will be the opponent's turn. That's what that's our helper function, right? So now, after writing this, we need to work on the very important part of our game, which is our socket connection and our events communicating with our backend, right? So for to do so, we need to use a use effect, and let me, yes, we need the this in our dependency array, and then we need to write a few things here, right, inside the use effect. First of all, we need to do the connection, right? The connection, basically. Then we need a game. When the game starts, then we need a few others, right? Like for example, the game state, and this is basically when there is a move, right? When there is a move, that's why we need that one, and we need the other one, which is game over, basically. Let me write that here as a comment so I don't get confused which one goes first. And then we need yeah, I think for now we need just those four, right? So in the first one, let's start working on the connection. And first one, for the connection, it will be pretty simple, right? So let's try this. Const on connect, right? And we need an arrow function, and we're gonna connect to the server, basically. And as a default value for the status, we can set finding an opponent, right? And I feel like this is basically optional, because we already have this defined as a default value here, right? And over here as well, right? So I think this will be optional. And then we need the other one for on game. Oh, let me write the arrow function. Const on game start, basically. And for that one, we need, let me write the arrow function, and then we need to define a few, or not define, but use a few of these states that we defined previously, right? But so yeah, we need to do set the show rematch, basically this one. Let me just copy that so I don't make a typo mistake. It will be false initially, right? So we don't show the button when the game starts, right? So after that, we need to set the room ID. Set room ID, and initially we need to pass the payload, right? So we need to, let me destructure this, and it will be the board. Well, let's not destructure, let's pass the whole payload here, and it will be of type game start, right? So, and we define all those types already over here. So over here it will be the room ID, basically. Let me see why this does not exist here. Oh, I'm using the incorrect one. So basically, this is not a game state, it's game star. Yes, that's why the wrong ID wasn't showing there. But yeah, now we have the autocomplete there. So now we need to set our board, and basically it will come from our payload as well, right? It will be payload the board, right? And then we need to set the current turn, right? Which will be from our all of these will come from our backend. And then why it's giving me an error here, let me see. Current player, I added it as a current player. I don't like this. Let me see. Current player, I will rename it this to a current turn. I think that sounds much better. And yeah, current turn here, current turn here. Yeah, I think that will sound more better because it's a turn, right? So yes, and then we need to define the symbol, right, which is given here. And then why it's giving me another error here? Oh, this is my symbol. Yes, just like that. Okay, so what else do we need to? Oh, and we need the reference, right? My symbol ref to be the current, right? Symbol ref, it will be a current equal to payload my symbol, basically. And we have another error here. Let me see what I miss here. Oh, this is not a user state, it's just ref, basically. Yes, and we need to import this. You see, I'm making mistake just like in real life. We make all these mistakes and we correct them as we are coding, right? So we need that. That's that. And then we need to set or utilize our helper function, right? So if over here we need to set turned status, right? And we need to pass the current turn, and we need to pass the my symbol, right? Because remember, all of these will come from our backend, right? So our backend is taking care of whose turn it is and whose symbol it is, right? So we need this, so that's why we create this helper function. So then we need to move on to the next one, right? Which is game the game state, or when someone makes a move, right? So let me write this arrow function, and then in here we are gonna accept a few things from our backend, right? And this one is the game state, right? And from here we will need the board, and we will need the current turn, right? Basically. And inside the arrow function we are gonna set a few things, right? The set, sorry, we're gonna set the board is gonna be equal to the board, and then we need to set the current turn, and we need to update our status, right? Just like this, basically. And then we need the other one, which is for the game over. And for the game over, we need let me write this arrow function first, and then let's start this game over. It will be the same thing, right? It will take a few things, and the type will be game over. We already wrote this code, so we're going to import that. And then over here we are going to destructure the board. We're going to check the winner, and whether when the game was over, if there was a draw, right? So we need all of that there. So, and then now we need a few things inside the arrow function. The first thing that we need to do is set the board, right? And that will come from and we're gonna pass the board there. That comes from our backend, right? So, and then we need to set another state, and here is when we show the button to the user, right, to ask them if they would like to play another game or to do a rematch, basically. So let's show that, and we're gonna set it to true, right? And then here we need to update the status here too, right? Over here we need to update the status. So when the game is over, if from our backend we are receiving is draw, then we're gonna update our status to set status to a draw, right? And then if there is a winner, we are gonna basically tell the user that they are a winner, right? And else we're gonna say you lose, right? Basically, those are our three statuses that we need to deal with, right? Again, if from our backend we receive that there is a draw, we're gonna set that status to a draw. Else, if there is a winner, we obviously want to show to the user you're a winner. Else, we're gonna say to the user you lose, right? Basically that. And then after this, we need to we need the socket event listener, right? Basically, just like this over here, and we need to clean up after everything it's done, right? So this is very important to clean up everything, so the way our server don't think, that the player is still connected or still the game is still going on. So that's why we need to clean up everything, right? And this event listener, we are utilizing all these functions that we wrote inside the use effect. Now we need to do one more thing before we ended writing our game logic. Before after the use effect, we need to write if the user can play, right? So basically we need to define a few things for to do so. Can play, let me name it can play, and this one basically it's a value, right, that we are gonna return here. Is we're gonna say if there is a room ID and there is if that my symbol is pressed, the current tour it's equal to my symbol, we can play, right? And we need after this we need to write another event listener for when there is a move, right? So let me write this counts make a move, right? So and we're gonna use a callback here before doing all this. Use callback, yes, just like this. And in here we're gonna pass the index, right? And let me do a few checks here. The first one, let me close this first. Let me see. Can I do this? Yes, this is what I need. So basically this checks only happens in the front end, right? So basically the first thing that we need to check here, it's if there is no room ID, basically you cannot play, right? Or there is no a symbol, there is no a symbol or my symbol, we're gonna return basically we're gonna return nothing, right? So that means you cannot play or make a move, right? Because it's only one player, right? So and then we're gonna make another if statement. If there's board index, yes, basically this index, or the current tour it's not equal to my symbol, we're gonna return, right? You cannot, like the comment says here, right? The cell already filled or or not your turn. It's not your turn basically. And this is just basically checking in the front end. We are not sending anything to the back end just yet. So basically this is invalid mode. And to clarify that, and then we're gonna have something for the move, right? We got to send an event to the backend, so we tell the backend there is a move, right? And remember, we did all this checking on our backend. So let me we have this event that basically will check if the move is valid, right? If there is a correct turn, right? If the cell is empty, so all of that will be checking our backend, right? So basically, we need to send all of these to our backend, right? The index, and also forget one more thing, the symbol, right? And we need to send my symbol, right? Basically that, and we need to write another function to restart the game, right? So let me write that const restart game, and we're gonna use a callback as well. And yes, we need a few dependencies here too. Let me see. We need the socket here. We need the socket. We need the room ID, which is over here. I don't know if we need this, do we? The room ID. We need the board. And what else? And we need the current turn. Basically, those four. I think that's it. Let me see, socket, room ID, oh, my symbol probably. Yeah, we need my symbol there too. And let's continue with the restart functions. We're gonna use a callback, and if there is no room ID, we're gonna return anything, right? Because it's invalid move, invalid call, right? Basically, if there is no room ID. So, and then we're gonna make this. We're gonna call this event. This event. This is very important, guys, because this event has to match with what we define in our backend, right? So in this case, we're gonna call it reset game, and we're gonna send a room ID, right? Based on that, we're gonna reset our game. We're passing the room ID and the socket over here, and then that's all that we need for our game logic, and we need to export this, right, or return basically. And we're gonna return all of this. We're gonna return the board, we're gonna return the status, the room ID, we're gonna return the current turn, and what else? We are gonna return my symbol as well. We're gonna return show rematch. That's very important, to show the button so the user can play again, right? So and we're gonna show can play, make a more restart. And this one we are going to pass a boolean here, a boolean, and we're gonna say like just like this. And basically that's the logic of our game, guys. And we'll see if there is no bugs, right? Once we test it, we're gonna check it out, and if there's an error or bug, we're gonna fix everything, right? But that's how it is in real life, guys. You can write code, and then when you start testing or doing some QA, you find bugs and then you fix it, right? And that's it for today, guys. See you in the next one. Stay tuned. In the next video, we're gonna start working on the UI, I believe. So subscribe, share, and like. That helps me a lot. I will appreciate that. And see you in the next one. You take care. Thank you, guys.